Hello everyone, Micah Daly here from WPMU Dev, and I'm back in your Press Forward podcast feed today for the 5th edition of PressPause, a collaborative mini-series created by WPMU Dev and WP&Up. In the 2 weeks leading up to WordCamp Europe 2019, Nathan Wrigley and I are releasing an episode every weekday in which we interview WordCamp goers from around the world to hear the interesting, encouraging, or maybe even funny moments they've carried with them past the camps they attended. It's a show created to encourage listeners to pause, breathe, and remember that they're not alone. At its heart, WordPress is made up of people with different perspectives, backgrounds, struggles, and talents. And this reality is experienced in thousands of tiny moments at events like WordCamps. Today's episode of PressPause is brought to you by WPMU Dev. Whether you oversee 1, 10, or even 1,000 WordPress sites, WPMU Dev's all-in-one platform provides everything you need. Manage all your sites from the hub with automated updates, client reporting, and uptime monitoring. Take advantage of our fully managed hosting, 24/7 support for anything WordPress, and our suite of premium plugins to help you with things like image optimization, SEO, security, analytics, branding, and more. Visit WPMUdev.com today to start your 30-day free trial. In the first episode of this series, I shared my most memorable WordCamp moment, which included a very kind confrontation. Today, I'm excited to chat with the other main character in that story, the confronter himself. Wait, that sounds negative. He's the person who found me in a crowd of over 1,000 people to make sure I was invited to my local WordPress meetup group. I mentioned you we recorded the first kind of introduction to this series, and I mentioned you on there because you were kind of my standout moment. So when you came and introduced yourself to me, and you called me out for not going to any local meetups, it meant a lot to me. Do you remember that?
I remember that, but yeah. we just want to grow the meetup community, and I was like, oh man, there's this dude in Phoenix doing these really cool podcasts. We should get him to come to some meetups.
Yeah, no, it was cool. It stood out to me because you tracked me down, and I heard you're from Phoenix. Why aren't you coming to our meetups? It was just really cool that you took the initiative to find me. It meant a lot to me, so I wanted to thank you for doing that.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Friends, meet Dave Ryan. Aside from being an all-around kind and caring person, he's also involved in the WordPress community in more ways than I can count. So, to get started, can we just start with an introduction from you, who you are, what you do, your involvement in WordPress, etc., whatever you want to throw out there.
Sure. Are we recording now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hi, I'm Dave Ryan. I am a WordPress core developer at Bluehost, and I have been working with WordPress since I was in middle school.
And what about your involvement in WordCamps in general?
So I've been organizing WordCamp Phoenix now for 4 years. Just signed on to try to start year 5.
Awesome. Do you remember what your first WordCamp was, the first one you ever attended?
So the first WordCamp I ever attended was actually a WordCamp by Organized.
So
I had never been to a WordCamp before WordCamp Phoenix 2016.
Okay. So yeah, let's go into your story. What's your standout moment? What's your favorite thing? What do you remember?
It's hard to pick one. There's been over the years some really cool moments. I think one of them that really sticks out to me was WordCamp Phoenix 2018. Mm-hmm. This was before I worked at Bluehost. And there was this 16-year-old kid who came up to me and asked me if he could, show me this website he was working on and get some feedback. So I said, sure, let's take a look at it. So he pulled out this really cool site, and he had built this hosting calculator for his, freelance hosting packages. And he built it to handle, annual rates and monthly rates and all these like cool things. And I was like,
Wow.
it's going to put me out of business. But, we sort of chatted about it. It was really cool. And he's like, oh man, I'm so glad I spent, $40 on WordCamp. And then 20 minutes later, he won a TV from Bluehost.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So that was just sort of one of those like, this is the kind of thing we do it for, It was only a few years after I had been a student, and, a 16-year-old kid is spending his own money, on a WordCamp ticket. I think, in the tech space, we'd think of it as a drop in the bucket. But, for a 16-year-old kid spending his own money, that's, the fact that he really wanted to come and, invested in it. And we were able to invest back in him. That was really cool.
Yeah. And the idea that he was going there to just, this is what I made. Give me some input. What do you think of this? That's really cool. That's brave. I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah. No, it was super impressive. And, it's a lot of work to put on a WordCamp, and moments like that make it all worth it. So.
Yeah. If you got into a conversation with somebody who's interested in joining the community, what would be your pitch to have them join the party?
What would be my pitch?
Yeah.
I think that this is a very inviting community. It's very welcoming. We encourage diversity. This is a community that believes that a diversity of ideas makes us stronger. Mm-hmm. So no matter where you are in your journey, whether you've never built a site or you build the largest sites in the world, there's a place for you at WordCamps. And, you're going to meet interesting people who give you new ideas and help you solve problems deeper, because you're not surrounding yourself in a bubble of people who think just like you. So whether you're a small business and you're just looking to, understand SEO better and understand social, whether you're a developer and you're trying to learn a new code concept or, skill up in React, whatever it is you do, there's probably someone else who does that or does something totally different that's just going to like put your jaw on the floor. Yeah. And so I find it this, really sort of like energizing, fuel up and reminder, now that I work on, the WordPress project, this is who we build it for. And every time I go to a camp, it's this sort of recalibration of, I might be thinking about, a button or, some code. And, then someone brings up a problem that I just never thought about, or something that's confusing to them that, has just always been intuitive to me. And so then it's this cool thing of, all right, well then how can we take that and make something better from it? And how can we learn from this and, continue to build this community? And so, yeah, I guess that's my pitch, is that, no matter what you do, you can probably get some really cool value and make some really interesting connections there.
Going to a WordCamp or joining a community like WordPress's requires a level of vulnerability. I mean, putting yourself in a position to be seen by others can be intimidating. Thankfully, in our case, there are people like Dave to remind us that there's a place for all of us. Just before ending our call, Dave had one more piece of advice for us. Don't chase the big moments. Do you have anything else that you would want to throw out there? Anything that I missed?
I think that the only other thing I would add is that as exciting as WordCamp US and WordCamp Europe, and there's a proposal for WordCamp Asia, as exciting as those like big, tentpole events can be, they can also be really overwhelming. And, there's 3,000 people there, and it's hard sometimes to make those, standout moments. So, it's cool that I was able to stand out in your memory, but, I must have talked to hundreds of people that weekend.
Yeah.
And, so I think the cool thing about a local WordCamp is that, you meet people in your city who are doing things just like you, or, they're using WordPress in a totally different way. And there's a lot of value in those local events. And if you look at the schedule and like a WordCamp just passed in your area, there's WordPress TV, which has, footage from most every WordCamp that's happened for, the past few years.
Press Forward podcast is a production of WP and Up. The PressPause mini-series is a collaborative effort by WPMU Dev and WP and Up. Nathan Wrigley and me, Micah Daly, produced this episode, and I created the original score. A huge thank you to Dave for chatting with me on this one, and thank you all so much for listening. Remember that together, we can press forward.